In this video, we're gonna continue our goal to get huge this year. So we're gonna be talking about the 5 biggest mistakes that skinny guys are making when they're trying to gain weight, trying to gain size, trying to gain muscle. So here we go. Mistake number 1, not eating enough calories. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes when it comes to eating, because if you don't get enough calories, you're not gonna have the extra building blocks you need to gain more weight. Think about it. If you eat 2,000 calories a day and you burn 2,000 calories a day, you're left with 0 calories. So there's no more calories left. So if you're burning it all, what are you gonna use to gain that extra weight? You gotta have extra calories. So you gotta eat a lot more than what you think. And this is the biggest mistake because most guys think they're eating enough and they can't really relate that eating more food has direct correlation with putting on more muscle. But it's exactly how it relates to each other. More food equals more muscle. So if you're having a hard time putting on size, gaining weight, and you're wondering why, and you're thinking it's your genetics or you're thinking your workouts, check again. It's your eating, okay? It's definitely your eating, 100% reason why. All right, so mistake number 2. Not eating enough carbs. Most people learn that carbs are bad because they're unhealthy for you because of freaking Dr. Atkins, Atkins diet. And ever since then, carbs have been the #1 enemy. Oh, well, you know what? Carbs aren't the enemy, okay? You know what is the enemy? Sugar is actually the enemy that gets people fat, not carbs. Carbs are actually good for you, and when it comes to gaining weight, they're actually very, very, very important for you. So the type of carbs that you want to go ahead and eat is potatoes. That will be probably the #1 carb source I would recommend to anybody. So when it comes to potatoes, you can use mashed potatoes, you go and cut them up and bake them. Mashed potatoes is really what I recommend to be the best way to put down potatoes. So anything that's mashed or anything that's cut into small pieces will actually help you eat a lot faster, and so you don't find yourself eating 24/7 throughout the day. That's why mashed potatoes are good, because literally when it's mashed, I mean, you can chew on it, because you're naturally used to chewing on it, but you can actually just scoop a mashed potato, put it in your mouth and swallow it. You know what I mean? Because it's mashed already. So you don't have to worry about, doing all that chewing. So it may sound really crazy, but trust me, when you're eating throughout the entire day, you want to make that process as simple and as easy as possible. So mashed potatoes is a great way to go ahead and really just skip most of the chewing process, and just get those carbohydrates down into your system. So as you're starting to eat these carbs, if you feel like you're starting to gain a little fat, here's a simple list that you want to start off with on the most extreme way to eat the carbs, and then it's going to tailor down to more of a tapered way. So as you start off, I would always say go the most extreme. Why? You want to see the results as fast as you can. So I would start off with mashed potatoes, white potatoes and mashed potatoes. From there, you go with like a baked potato, but still with the white potatoes. And then if you feel like you're gaining a little bit too much fat, then switch over to sweet potatoes, okay? You can mash it or you can go ahead and bake it. From there, you can switch down and dial it down to, let's say, pastas, which is still a very good way to go ahead and gain weight and good carb source. From there, if you feel like you're still gaining weight, then switch down to white rice. And then afterwards, brown rice. The last one I would say would be beans. Any type of like red beans, black beans, lentils, stuff like that. Those carbs are still good for gaining weight, but they're not gonna be as aggressive as gaining weight as regular potatoes. So that would be kind of the chain that you wanna start off with. All right guys, so mistake number 3, not pre-cooking your meals in advance. Now, most people don't have to pre-cook their meals, but you gotta remember, most people aren't eating every 2 hours. They eat twice or 3 times a day. But for you, eating every 2 hours means you always gotta have food available. And trust me, there is no way that you can cook every 2 hours throughout the day, unless you have no life. And if you didn't have a life and you're cooking every 2 hours, your life sucks, man. You gotta find another way to do something else with your time, you know what I mean? So, what you have to do is you have to go ahead and cook in advance, so this way, when it comes to eating, when the time hits, the alarm hits, it's time to eat, you got your meals already prepped for you. So let me tell you some really basic ways to do it. Really simple. Number 1, grab yourself a whole bunch of containers, okay? So you imagine that you're eating every 2 hours. So in a day, you're probably eating, let's say about 6 meals, right? So 6 meals a day times how many days in a week? 7. So that's 42 meals. Now, I know you're probably thinking, man, that's a lot of meals to cook. Don't sweat it, okay? Let's take some baby steps. I would recommend going out to the store, buy about 15 Tupperwares, containers, maybe up to about 20 at the most, and find a day to go ahead and cook let's say 15 to 20 meals. Is it gonna last you the whole week? No. But this will go ahead and number one, get you used to cooking in bulk and cooking in advance, and also help you get used to eating the Tupperwares, okay, eating out of it. So we don't want you to cook too many in advance and then have them go bad because you didn't have a chance to finish it. So here's an example of a meal that I have. There you go. So this meal right here, medium, not really exactly for gaining weight, but so-so. Okay, so because we have the red meat, but we have brown rice. If I wanted to go ahead and make this into a mass gaining meal, what I would do, I would leave the steak as is, leave the vegetables as is, swap out the carbs. See how it's brown rice right now? I would probably put mashed potatoes. I'll put some milk and butter. Well, that's how I'd make it with. But you know what else I would put? Gravy and cheese. Man, that is my favorite. You put that combination, I spread it over everything. I would flood this Tupperware with some gravy. I would make this bad boy weigh like another extra pound. That's how I would do it. Now, if y'all don't like gravy, you know, suit yourself. But I'm just telling you, that's my personal favorite. But that is how you make this meal into an extreme mass gaining meal. All right, so moving on to mistake number 4, which is eating crazy amounts of protein when trying to gain size. Now, that sounds really counterintuitive because everywhere you read, it's always make sure to eat protein, get protein, muscle gaining, it's all about protein. So this is what guys do. They eat too much protein. Now, here's the reason why this is a mistake. So eating too much protein is gonna not focus on eating enough carbs because protein is good for building muscle, but number one, your body can only absorb so much protein throughout the day, and that's it. And it's usually about 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight. So let's say if you weigh 150 pounds, the most amount of protein that your body will be able to handle would be about 150 grams of protein. And also that's making sure that you do very intensive workouts. So this way your body can break down more protein. Because if your workouts aren't intensive enough, your body's not even gonna be able to absorb even that. It's not even gonna be able to absorb 1 gram of protein per body pound. So you see what I mean? So you gotta make sure that when it comes to your protein, what I recommend is keeping your protein amount about the same as before. So you wanna keep it about 1 gram of protein per body weight. If you weigh 150 pounds, 150 grams of protein will be more than enough, okay? But on the other hand, make sure you bump up your carbs. Again, remember like I showed you on that Tupperware, that's what needs to change. Carbohydrates are gonna be the one that's gonna be responsible for gaining the size, not the protein, okay? Make sure you get your protein in, make sure you eat your steak, eat your red meat, eat your high calorie proteins, but don't worry about eating an excessive amount of protein, okay? You wanna make sure that the rest of the food comes from your carbohydrates and some from your vegetables. All right, last mistake, mistake number 5. Permanent bulking. So everybody wants to go ahead and bulk up when you want to gain more weight, gain more muscle. But a lot of people actually get stuck in the permanent bulking phase and never leaning down. Now, majority of the guys, when they're wanting to bulk up, their ultimate goal is to have a muscular body and have 6-pack abs. Okay, now if you are one of those guys that you don't really care about having abs and you don't care about having some belly, just as long as you have some thick arms, big chest, hold a good amount of weight, cool. But majority of the guys out there though do want to end up with their ideal body, which is having some abs and having this muscular body. And a lot of them get confused and they get stuck in this permanent bulking stage. And here's the reason why. As you start to put on weight, as you start to put on muscle, you're gonna see the difference in your life. People are gonna go ahead and treat you differently. They're gonna go, wow, you look great, you put on so much size, and girls can start grabbing your arm and all this stuff is all cool and dandy. Okay, so what happens is you're gonna be so happy with this new size, the last thing you're gonna wanna do is lose that size. And as you lean down, as you start dropping weight, you are gonna get smaller, okay? There's no way around it. If you gained 30 pounds and your abs are now gone, then from there, you wanna go ahead and get to a muscular body with some abs, you're gonna have to drop, let's just for example, 10 pounds. But just dropping that weight, psychologically, it feels like it creates like a fear because you've been skinny before, and then now that you have the body that you're happy with, but you want to get some abs, at the end, you're gonna be thinking, I'd rather be bigger with no abs than be skinny with abs. You know what I mean? So at that point, you're gonna think, well, the moment you start to drop weight, you start to go, oh crap, I don't wanna do that, and you start eating all the food again that's gonna help you get bigger, and then so you get stuck, in that bodybuilding, bulking off-season phase. And it's even worse if you got friends that are really into bodybuilding, because a lot of people when they bodybuild, you gotta get huge. And a lot of them never cut down. So it'll be worse if you got friends that are all big and bulky, because it's not gonna give you any type of motivation to go ahead and drop your weight down and get lean and ripped and have that ideal body. So let me go ahead and fill you in on a couple of information now on why you need to go ahead and drop down once you're done with the bulking phase. So number one, you actually look bigger when you're lean than you do if you have extra body fat. So for example, let's say if somebody was 200 pounds, 200 pounds and let's say a 25% body fat, right? So the body fat's pretty high, they have no abs, but they probably got pretty big arms, big chest, just kind of one of those big powerlifting looking guys, right? If you have somebody who's 200 pounds, 25% body fat, versus somebody who's, let's say, 180 pounds with 10% body fat, I guarantee you, every single time, the guy who's 180 pounds with 10% body fat is actually gonna look bigger. And the reason why is because when you look at somebody, when somebody has low body fat, you can actually see all the muscles, and the muscles have a perception of popping out at you. Versus somebody who's 180 pounds with 10% body fat, they're actually gonna look much bigger. So that's number one, okay? Don't worry about losing the size that you gain, because at the end, you're still gonna maintain a good amount of muscle, and you're actually gonna look much more muscular than you are if you had higher body fat percentage. So number two is the more fat that you gain during the bulking phase, the harder it is for you to lose it. And also, not just more fat, but also the longer that you keep it. So let's say your plan was to go ahead and gain, let's say 25 pounds, right, in 3 months. Cool, so at the end of the third month, you gain the 25 pounds and you're happy and you're ready to go ahead and start dropping, but you get scared because you're scared to lose weight. So you continue to hold on to that extra weight for another 3 months. So the longer that you hold on to that extra fat, the harder it is for you to go ahead and drop it, okay? So ideally, you wanna make sure you set a time that you're gonna bulk up and set a goal weight that you wanna bulk up to. And the moment that you hit it, start going back into your cut down phase, okay? So this way you can go ahead and not be stuck in that bulking phase and end up with that lean, muscular body.